Alrighty. Testing. First podcast. Let's go. It's kind of weird now. I got a camera here, a mic here, and now all of a sudden, like, me talking to myself is legitimized. It's funny how that works, right? But let's start this thing, huh? I'm like, I've been putting this off for the last like 2-3 days. Kept making up excuses. Oh, I need this. Oh, I need that. Oh, I got to clean this space off. But let's finally do it. Yo. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first, I'm calling it episode 0 of the Living for a Living podcast. For those of you that know me and have been following me, man, what's up? Good to see y'all. And then for all those random people that are just like, who the hell is this dude? What's going on? Nice to meet you. Glad you're here. So kind of for this first podcast episode that I'm going to do, I think it's kind of important to do like the origin story, kind of, comic books always have that first edition is always explaining the story and, how everything came to be. And so I think that's kind of important for me to do right now, just to give the listener a little understanding of who I am, what I'm bringing to the table, why I'm doing this, why I think you should listen to this. Yeah, so we'll get into it. Like I said, or I guess I didn't say, my name's Joey Bradley. This is the Living for a Living podcast. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok now, and Facebook as well, Living for a Living. I'm 29-year-old dude from Issaquah, Washington, which is right outside of Seattle. Last four years or so since I graduated college, I've been primarily living in Europe, playing American football over there, which I know sounds like an oxymoronic statement or sentence in itself right there, but it is a true thing. There is American football over in Europe and even around the world. A lot of people don't know that. To the level that it's at, kind of varies, but that's not the point. But yeah, so since I've been playing over there, I've been living primarily in Europe, primarily 2 years in Portugal, 2 years in Poland, a little stint in Spain and Finland as well. And my next stop will be in Spain in about a month. But by the time this gets released, I'll probably already be in Spain. So I'm in Spain. But yeah, so like I said, this podcast is called Living for a Living. And, I've kind of made that my mantra or my brand or, whatever you want to call it. That's kind of my motto, my life motto, whatever you want to say. And just to get a little quick background behind that and where that came from is, constantly people always say, what do you do for a living? Oh, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a teacher. Oh, I'm an accountant. Oh, I'm this, I'm that, whatever it may be. And I think that a lot of the times when people say that kind of stuff, they attach their identity to that thing, that they do for a living. It's kind of a weird thing to me when I really think about it. And so people, I graduated and I'd be back in Seattle on my off season or whatever, and someone's, oh yeah, what do you do for a living? And I'd kind of started to pause. This is like 3 years ago. I paused, be like, well, telling people I play American football in Europe, I mean, it's cool, but that's not, I guess, it's not my career per se. I didn't know how to answer it. And I finally it clicked to me. I was like, bro, you're living for a living, and then to kind of go further into that is, we've reached a societal norm where, you graduate, you go to high school, go to a good college, kind of the checklist lifestyle, I call it, go to a good college, graduate, get a good job, find a wife, buy a house, have kids, work all the time, and then retire at like 60. I don't know what the exact retirement age is currently, but let's just call it 60, or let's call it 65. And so then you graduate from college. Let's say you were a late graduator like myself. I was 25. And then you're supposed to work until you're 65. That's 40 years. And then, okay, then you work, save, so you can retire by the time you're 65, and then you can enjoy life. You know, and I listen, I know that some people are working 80 hours a week, really enjoying what they're doing. I'm just being very general right now, which I don't always agree with, but in this situation, I think I have to be general. But yeah, by the time we get to 65, by the time we reach this retirement age, you know, we've had to deal with bullshit for the last 40 years of working for somebody we don't like, or doing something we don't like, or living somewhere we don't like, etc. And so by the time we get to 65, that retirement age, and I've seen this, is that people can get jaded. And, you know, they see the world with a different lens because of those past 40 years. And then also on top of that is your health is naturally declines as you get older. And so you get to 65 and you're not even healthy enough to really do some stuff that you really want to do. And then kind of the other flip side of that, you know, talking with friends while I'm back, and they're explaining to me, oh yeah, you know, hopefully I can get a week there next year for vacation, and then a week there, and then, you know, maybe I can scrounge together a few days at this spot. And like that really kind of tripped me out too, thinking, and like, damn, people are working just for sake of easy number 50 out of the 52 weeks per year, and getting excited about those 2 weeks out of the entire year, that's their thing. You know, it's the same kind of thing. You work 5 days out of the week, and then you're excited for the 2 days on the weekend. And to me, that shit just never like added up in my head, you know? And so I kind of made this, I decided, but, you know, I made this choice, or decided, whatever you want to call it, that, you know, instead of me just grinding, working for the next 40 years, and then having maybe 20 years to do what I want, you know, freely, I would rather just live and enjoy and do what I want, especially right now. You know, I have no aspirations of having a wife or a kid ever. I mean, and I think that can obviously change throughout life, but right now I have no aspirations for that. So I'm like, why would I tie myself down doing something that I don't really even care about doing just to get some money, and then have 20 years later on in life that, you know, shit, I might not make it till next week. You know, you don't know. You never know. Tomorrow's never promised. I'm not trying to get preachy on it right now, but it's just the fact. And then on the other kind of example I used with the 50 out of 52 weeks, vacation, that kind of premise, I thought, shit, man, why don't I, instead of just looking forward to going and doing something 2 weeks out of the year, why don't I live somewhere that I really enjoy, that I would want to go vacation to? I'll live somewhere for a majority of the year, and I'll live modestly, because I'll let you in on a secret. American football in Europe isn't paying the big bucks, but you can survive on it. And live modestly in a vacation location. Ooh, that's a sick little thing right there. And enjoy. You know, maybe I'm only there for 36 to 40 weeks out of the year. Then I'm back home traveling, kind of bouncing around. But why would I want to only look forward to 2 weeks out of the year, rather when I could look forward to every week? Okay. So, yeah, I got a little preachy right there. I didn't mean to do that, but as you guys will find out, sometimes I can get off on a tangent, and I think podcasting's good for that reason. But to get myself back on track, you know, this living for a living has kind of became my motto or mantra, whatever you want to call it. Got a vlog that goes along with it, other video, photography type of content. You know, I got some ideas in the work for somewhat of just a brand, like a lifestyle brand in the future. And then this podcast is, I see it all, they're all layers to the cake. And so this is just kind of one of those next layers. And honestly, I'm probably the most excited about podcasting in comparison with editing and filming and all that other stuff, just because, I mean, you already probably know I like to talk, and more importantly, like, I like to talk to other people, and I like to listen, and I like to help people, you know, spread their message as well as spread my own message. And so podcasting just kind of seemed like a no-brainer, but it's one of those things that up until right now, I've been kind of nervous about starting. My mom's like in the other room. Actually, she's vacuuming right now, and I like waited for her to start vacuuming so before I started, because I didn't want her to like be in the other room eavesdropping, even though she's going to listen to this as soon as I finish and post it. So I don't know. It's just like this weird self-conscious thing. But now that I've started, I'm just like, oh, I don't give a fuck, you know? So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to move forward next with like, what's this podcast even about? And I would say that the exact topic of the podcast is relatively fluid and will change from who the guest is to what my mood is to whatever's on my mind for the day. I'd like to say, think kind of like a Joe Rogan that's putting myself in the bests category right away. I'm not trying to say it like that, but Joe, he switches up whoever he's talking to. That's the topic, that's the subject. And so it's not a sports podcast. It's not a traveling podcast. It's not a psychology or mental health or anything like that. But those 3-4 things I just named are all interest to me. And so it'll naturally have a feel like that. But at the same time, if I had to say overall, like just this podcast will be about the pursuit of happiness in everyday life and kind of the mental health that goes along with those things. And so, mental health a lot of the time has like a negative connotation to it. And, there is kind of a negative part to it. But I also, by mental health, I mean the positives, the things, for example, just discussing when I interview people, discussing just their life experiences and the different little things that got them to be the person that they are now, whether that be the highs or the lows, the ups and the downs, just different mindsets, whether it was a good mindset, a bad mindset, that were maintained throughout their path that has reached them to the present day point. Other things like daily routines that are beneficial, or, bad habits that have been detrimental, those kind of things. And then just people's current thoughts and focuses and what they're using to be their best right now. So at the very least, I hope people can get from this is some positive vibes, some good conversation, and, picking up one small thing, learning something new, or maybe even just thinking about something in a new way that they hadn't already thought about. Kind of that next, I really, when I started this, I'll be upfront. One of the main things I want to do with this podcast is be just completely real and authentic as possible. And when I'm feeling like shit, explain it hopefully in a positive way. But, right now I'm just going through, I did kind of a who, what, where, when, why thing about, this podcast. And so, to go for like, who are the guests next, I already explained who I was, who are the guests. I kind of left it very vague when I'm explaining this and saying just interesting, inspiring, and successful people. And by, like I said, by success, I mean happy. Because to me, that's the ultimate sign of success. Money is cool, but it sure ain't everything. And so I've, throughout my life and travels and ventures and all kinds of things, I've had a weird, windy road, done some interesting things, both good and bad, that I think I have a pretty cool little eclectic network of people that I'm really hoping will want to come on and share what they're thinking and what's going on with them, from sports stars, professional sports athletes, to business owners, to comedians, to just normal people working 9 to 5s that are really enjoying their life and really fucking doing their thing, to foreign people, anyone that just kind of sticks in my mind that's like, dang, like I'd be interested to hear them speak some more and ask them some questions. I think one of the segments I eventually want to do, which kind of coincides with the little theme I do on Instagram and also a book I have planning to do later on, is called Don't Talk to Strangers. And whether I actually get that person, a stranger who's now became a friend just through a random conversation in public, whether I get them on as the guest or I just tell the story about how we met, what they told me, what I learned from them, the experience, is I think that'll be kind of one ongoing segment of this. So yeah, next I had someone today ask me, why do you even want to do this? Like, why? And so to answer that, I've just, ever since the beginning of podcasting, or since I've known about podcasting, I don't know the date of existence when it started, but I've just always been super intrigued by it. I really, like I said earlier, I really enjoy having in-depth conversations with people. And in today's society, I don't want to sound like an old geezer, but in today's society, I find it very difficult to have a legitimate conversation of speaking and then listening, speaking, responding, I should say listening, responding. A lot of people just listen for the other person to stop talking so that way they can start talking. And so, I've had this interest, I guess, just in connecting with people through conversation. And this is an easy excuse to do that. And then also, I think that sounds very bold, but fuck it, right? I think some of the stuff that I have to say, the way that I view things, along with the people I'll have on here, will be very beneficial to somebody out there. Maybe not millions of people, but I think that 1 or 2 people will at least get some value from what will be said in these podcasts. Maybe over the last year or so, I've really been listening to podcasts pretty heavily, like while I'm driving or doing any kind of passive activity. And man, 1, they're interesting to me, and then 2, they've helped me, whether it just be listening to someone talk about some of the stuff they're going through and then being able to relate because of that, or how someone's thinking, whether it be good or bad, and being able to relate and being like, oh shit, I'm not the only one. There's other people out here doing that same kind of thing. So I think, I don't know, I want to be a part of that. Like I said, I've felt benefited by other people's podcasts that I would love to in turn flip it around and help someone else out. Also, I really like helping people and trying to boost them in whatever realm they're doing, to heighten their platform if possible. I was doing it and still do it with some video content and that type of stuff. And I really do enjoy doing that and just helping other people, that I view this as another way to do that. And then, like I've already kind of alluded, is, I think I have a pretty cool little network of friends, acquaintances, colleagues, everything, that I can almost use this podcast as an excuse to really have a real conversation with them, just out of the blue. It's in today's day and age, it's tough sometimes to just be like, hey bro, You want to go get a coffee on Tuesday morning and talk for an hour and a half about personal things or, whatever. Like, most people aren't trying to do that. But then all of a sudden, like I said in the beginning, you put a mic and a camera in front of somebody, and all of a sudden it becomes legit and they want to do it more. So at the very least, I'm using this as an excuse to have some real conversations with people that I could probably have otherwise, but it gives even another reason to do so, which I'm all for using that to my advantage. I think this is kind of switching topics a little bit, but I think it's super important. I think it's super important to discuss things out loud, and we don't do that as much anymore. We're constantly texting. To discuss things out loud, just how I'm doing now by myself, but also with another person, just in regards to mental health, both good and bad. When things are going good, it's good to talk about that so you can remember, like, oh, things are going pretty well for me. And then if things are going bad, you kind of start or you perceive things to be bad, you talk about, oh, it's not so bad. It's not as bad. Flip side, you think things are going really good and you start talking about it. Shit, man, this isn't going as good as I thought. It's important to get it out. I'm a big believer. Thoughts are things, and thoughts have an incredible amount of power on our everyday life. And words are essentially concrete thoughts. They're how we're putting it out there. And so, we're at a time now too. I've kind of hated on the societal norms for first bit of this, but now we're at a point in time where talking about mental health is accepted, and it's starting to like become cool or whatever. And people are caring about it. It's not the old school, like, just shut up and toughen up kind of thing that, a lot of us grew up in. And so, I think the more that we talk about that and we make it just normal to like talk about your feelings is going to be beneficial to society in the long run. Right. But specifically speaking, Twitter, Instagram, texting, and even just those formats, they're beneficial at times, but also not so much at other times, I know for myself that I tend to get into a rut when I'm isolated for too long and I'm not feeling like I'm able to express myself or like I'm being heard. And so, again, selfishly, if this can be like, I almost see this being almost like therapeutic in a sense to me. And so I already see it. So yeah, that's pretty much, I don't want to say in short, because I probably took 4 minutes to explain that. But in short, that's why I want to do a podcast. Also, I think another valid question for this is, why should you listen to this? What are you going to gain from that? And I kind of touched on it, but first and foremost, if you know me, which I think in the beginning, at least, a lot of the people who listen to this will know me. I think it's a good way to keep up with me. I do my stuff on Instagram here and there, but for the most part, like, you don't really get to keep up with me, and not even saying like you really want to, but I don't know, we're at a point in time where everyone's nosy. Everyone really wants, even if nobody cares, but everyone's interested. You know what I'm saying? And if I don't know you, or even if I do know you, I hope that I can provide value into your life, as you can always expect myself to be completely authentic with my words, with my thoughts, with my feelings. And then whether it's a solo podcast or whether I have a guest on, my goal is, what I'm striving for is that you, the listener, can take away and learn one new thing, whether it be about a topic, whether it be about me, whether it be about the guest, whether it be about yourself. Maybe we present something, a new idea or a new way of thinking that you normally hadn't, that makes you internalize and become a little introspective, and you learn, shit, maybe I think that because of this. And I've never really thought why I think that or why I feel that certain way, that kind of stuff. So that's my goal. That's my goal for the podcast, is nothing too crazy, but at the baseline, real as shit, very authentic. And, I think sometimes I can be pretty funny too. Shit. I hope you can get some laughs from this as well. I'm not a comedian by any sense, but I know that just naturally some funny shit might happen. So hopefully all those things wrap together. And yeah, that's the origin story. The who, what, where, when, why. How kind of makes sense. I'm going to fucking put a camera there and a mic here, and I'm going to talk into this and look into that, and then that's how we're going to make the podcast. So I skipped that one for y'all. But yeah, man, really, really appreciate your time. As always, I'll always kind of be hitting that home because, at the end of the day, you're choosing to spend some time out of your life, out of your day, to listen to what I got to say. And while I think what I got to say is important, I think there's a lot of motherfuckers that have important stuff to say. And so for the fact that you're listening and tuning into me really, truly, truly, truly means a lot to me, man. Like, big time. And so thank you to, I should have probably started with this, but thank you to, there's a handful of people that some I know really well, some I don't know at all. We're just like social media friends that have kind of reached out and given me extra encouragement. Like, bro, when are you going to do a podcast? Like, some of the stuff you talk about is awesome. Like, you could podcast. And so to those select individuals, man, you know who you are. Thank you, bro. Thank you. Like, seriously. Because I think I would have gotten into all of this before. But you expedited the process, to say the least. And I kind of feel dumb in a way shouting these people out, but I would say my two biggest kind of influences that, I've already seen doing it would be Joe Rogan, and, obviously everyone loves Joe, and Theo Vaughn. Joe kind of has given me the the basis for the show, where we're going to talk to people from every walk of life. But then also on Theo's side is, that dude's just fucking crazy and says the most outlandish shit ever sometimes. But then he counters it with some super introspective things about his feelings and why he thinks certain things, and just all the things that's going on in his mind, man, that he's openly shared and been pretty vulnerable about through his podcast, that I really vibe with, and has helped me a lot, in random small little ways, both through the good things and the bad things. I think that's kind of a theme, the good and the bad. So yeah, I'm gonna call it quits on this one. Episode 0, the origin story. Got my first podcast episode done. So now I just got to throw this all together. Once again, man, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Peace. Much love. Episode 0 is done. I'm officially a podcaster, Mal.